And it is certainly not immigrants that are causing these problems around the country. It is technology and the fact that more and more Americans are getting pushed to the side. You should probably applaud that, because I sense there are a lot of immigrants and children of immigrants in this room. I sense that. So it's really not immigrants that are causing the economic problems, it's that technology is accelerating. So I decided to run for president to help America wake up to the true challenges and solve those problems. Now, I want to talk a little bit about being the first Asian American to run for president in quite some time, maybe ever as a Democrat. Now, raise your hand if you consider yourself politically active. Yeah, so look around, that's actually not that many. And that would be very normal for members of our community. One reason why I never thought about running for president when I was growing up was that my parents were not interested in politics. And my parents certainly did not say politics was something that my brother and I should do. So if you look around and you see that most people in the Asian American community are not highly engaged in politics, the politicians have noticed. The politicians look at the Asian American community and they say Asian Americans vote less than other groups. Asian Americans donate money at lower levels than other groups. This is one reason I'm so grateful to you all. Thank you for donating to be here tonight. Thank you. If you look around this room, we've raised tens of thousands of dollars for the campaign just from this incredible group tonight. I'm so grateful. But it is highly unusual for Asian Americans to donate to political campaigns. We vote less, we donate less, we run for office less, and we're also split among party lines because half of us vote for Republicans because they prefer lower taxes, and then half of us are Democrats for any of a variety of other reasons. So for all of these reasons, Asian Americans are kind of marginalized politically. It's one reason why I'm so grateful to the people who made tonight possible, and also for Sandy. Where's Sandy at? Sandy disappear on me? so the Sandy activating our community. Oh, he flew?
Yeah.
Wow, he flew in and flew out just to be able to introduce me. I really appreciate that. So one thing I want our community to know is that we do need to get engaged politically, because if we do not, then things are not going to change in ways that we're excited about. And we need to let people know that Asian Americans are just as American as anyone else. But the way you make that happen in this society is you need to get engaged politically. Like, you can't be like, hey, we're just as American as anyone else, and then you don't vote, and you don't donate, and you don't run for office. So if we want people to take us seriously at a civic and political level, we actually have to engage and do some work. Now, this election will be a great opportunity because, for one, we're going to have an opportunity to make our case to the American people, not just at this debate. How many of you will watch the debate that just took place in June? We're going to get another debate on July 30th or 31st. They haven't released the date yet, so we're going to have another chance to make our case to the American people. And I'm going to say, one of the jokes I used to tell is Americans are going to turn on the TV and they're going to say, who is the Asian man standing next to Joe Biden?
Andrew Yang!
Andrew Yang, that's right. 18 million Americans watched the last debate, and I guarantee you a lot of them were asking, who the heck is the Asian man? Right? I know that's the case because we got 1 million website visits. So you know a lot of the women decided to go Google it. And the same thing's going to happen again in July. And then because of people like you, we are one of only 8 campaigns that has reached 130,000 donors to qualify for the debates in September and October as well. So thank you for that. So there are going to be a lot more Americans wondering who is the Asian man, because they're going to turn on the TV in July and September and October, and as the field shrinks, we are still going to be there thanks to you all. So thank you so much. And this is one way that we can let Americans know that the Asian American community is here to contribute at the highest levels, that we can lead at the highest levels, we can run for president, because we're going to show through this campaign that we are here to stay. That as the other campaigns all along, we're going to keep on going. Because this country actually needs us to step up in a very important way. Now, one of the stereotypes I play on when I go and campaign, I talk about how the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. And then I talk about technology and the economy, and I have to say, people look at me and say, I think this guy knows what he's talking about. And I think they think that in part because I'm Asian, and I'm talking about technology and math and numbers, and so they look at me and be like, oh, I think he might be onto something. But there is something about like the lens that we have as a people, as a community, that right now this country needs. This country needs to understand the profound transformation that the economy is going through. This country needs to understand that technology is transforming our way of life forever. And with your help, we can make this case to the American people throughout this coming season and take this all the way to the White House in 2020. So thank you all so much, Portland. Let's show what we can do. Let's show what we can do, and let's make this country wake up to the fact that it's not left, it's not right, it's forward, and that's where we're going to take the country. Thank you all.
Another big round of applause. Thank you. So Andrew, is going to have time for a few questions. I'd like to just, can you pass a couple? I'm going to translate the question a little bit, okay, in Cantonese and Mandarin, so our folks understand what the question's about and what's the answer about.
Question right here. Got a question right here. The volume.
Can you please tell us about UBI that you proposed? There are so many people who are thinking that you're just trying to give money away. You're going to make people lazy. So can you explain that?
Okay. 呢個問題咧就話即係呢位女士就問 UBI， 大家有冇聽過嘅 UBI 啊？大家有沒有聽說過 UBI？ 這個問題呢是有關 UBI， 他想呢就 Andrew 呢稍微解釋一下啊。
Okay. Yeah, so the question was about universal basic income, which is one of the flagship proposals of my campaign. I'm proposing a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month for every American adult starting at age 18, which seems very big and dramatic and radical. But if you dig into the country's history, this is actually a very American idea from the beginning. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country. He called it the citizen's dividend. Martin Luther King fought for it in 1967, called it a guaranteed minimum income. 1,000 economists endorsed it in 1970, and then in 1971 it passed the US House of Representatives twice. And one state has had a dividend in place for almost 40 years, where everyone in that state now gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year. You all know what state that is? Alaska! Yeah, in Alaska, if you move to Alaska, you get between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And how do they fund the dividend in Alaska? Oil money. And what I'm saying to the American people is that technology is the oil of the 21st century. What they're doing for the people of Alaska with oil money, we can do with technology money. Now your question was, won't that make people lazy? And the truth is that money actually has very, very little effect on the amount of work you do. If you're already lazy and I give you money, you might still be lazy after I give you money. If you're hardworking after I give you money, you're still going to be hardworking. The money's not going to make you lazy. There are only two groups that work less if you give them some money. Number one is new mothers who spend more time with their children. And number two is teenagers who spend more time in school and graduate from high school at higher levels. Those are the only two groups that work less. And I would suggest that we're actually pretty happy if those two groups do what they do, which is spend more time with their kids or spend more time in school.
我就想咧稍微解釋下啊。 頭先 Andrew 咧就解釋咧 UBI 咧呢個民族嘅字嘅其實70年代咧，我哋嗰個黑人領袖馬丁路西地已經咧當時已經提出過啦。馬丁路西聽話喺70年代其實就提出，能聽得見嗎？聽不見。OK。那麼呢我們呢其實在美國呢而家喺美國咧，喺阿拉斯加咧已經有啦，一個月咧其實咧有2000蚊嘅補助。呢啲錢從邊度嚟咧？其實咧，你知道我哋阿拉斯加最大嘅產業係乜嘢？最大嘅產業就阿拉斯加就是產油，那麼就從油公司呢這來。那麼 Andrew 這個提出的 UBI 嘅錢從哪來呢？比如說 Amazon 現在是make多少錢一年啊？就是缺點是吧？千億萬億的，但是他們1分錢。這個 tax 沒有交，那麼呢，這個錢呢，一般出來的這個 UBI 的錢呢，會從這些大的這種corporation 這些科拉斯的公司出來，對吧？那麼他剛才就提了，其實呢，最得意的有2個 group，一個就是比如說 mothers 尤其是這個 single mother， 他們呢，如果有1000塊錢這個收入的話呢，他們沒有必要。家裏因為有個孩子，還要出去打1份工2份工，來供他這個 apartment rent 買 grocery 對吧？另外一個呢就是 student 學生學生他們呢有這1000塊錢，他們可以繼續在學校裏頭待着，不要出去麥當勞打個工浪費了這個青春，浪費了學業，好吧 ？OK next question， 下個問題。
I have a couple of questions. One, it's just thrown this into. First of all, where do you see disabled people in this fourth revolution, industrial revolution? I mean, if there's, let's say, 1 out of 3 jobs gone, what would happen to someone like me who unfortunately cannot be productive? And then the second one is, if you can do us a favor, when you make your speeches, can you mention disabled people and also that we're on Social Security too?
So the problem in America right now is that our economy is based upon essentially seeing everyone as measured in economic value. And one of the central ideas of my campaign is that we have to actually start measuring our economy in human value, like how we are doing. So GDP is something we made up almost 100 years ago, and it's going to go up and up even as more Americans get left behind. And you can tell it's happening right now because even as GDP is at a record high, you know what else are record highs? Stress, anxiety, depression, drug overdoses, suicides. Our life expectancy has actually declined for the last 3 years. And so when you talk about disabled people in this economy, in many ways, we have to actually make the economy work for ourselves, regardless of whether you're, economically, of whether or not you have some, whether or not you have some skill that the economy values. So if you put our health and our mental health and our well-being first, then if we're not working, then that should be immaterial to how you're doing, because we have to actually make it work for you, and that's for disabled people, for able people. It shouldn't matter, essentially. The distinction between a disabled person and another type of person should be zero, and I know this in my soul because one of my little boys is autistic. And if you have someone who's autistic and let's say that person's not going to be able to function in a workplace, under one system you can say, well, that person is doomed because they'll never work and they have no value, and thus they're going to end up struggling for their entire life. But in the economy we need to try and move to, we have to say, look, humanity has value, and if the person's autistic, then that person needs a resource to be able to live a good life that we'd be proud of, regardless of what the economy thinks. So we have to actually evolve in the way we think of our own value and central, seeing it all as just how much money in the economy would contribute to our time.
Well, 我就稍微简单解释一下哈，就是说呢，刚才呢，我们 Andrew 讲了，现在这个 GDP 啊，就是我们这个国民生产总值啊是历史最高，但是呢，我们同时呢，这个人的这个压力 suffering 也是最高，对吧？那么呢，这个怎么 balance 呢？那么 Andrew 提出来这个就是叫人生第一。他给一个 example 啊 ，Andrew 有2个小孩，跟我们家的 exact 一样的 age， 非常刚顺啊，19和16岁。那么呢，他有其中一个小孩呢有这个自闭症。那么当今我们的社会呢，非常这个美国现在这个福利的话呢，这种小孩呢，给社会的这个负担呢是非常重的。自己呢其实也没工作的机会，但是呢，如果他这个有这个UBC 哈，那么呢，这个小孩呢可以利用这个 income 给他等于自助，对不对？自己可以 survive， do whatever they want。OK， 好，下个问题。Very good, very good. Okay.
Yeah, one more question, one more.
Yeah, one more. Okay.
Andrew, a lot of first-generation Americans from China or from other Asian countries came here to study science and engineering. Right now, I don't know if you've heard, many Chinese students are not allowed to have given a study visa because certain technologies are banned for the Asian people to study, especially Chinese. What's your view on that?
So this is something that's near and dear to my heart because my father came to this country to get a doctorate in physics. And he had generated 69 US patents for GE and IBM, two great American companies. I have a feeling that the US should be pretty happy with that deal. that we should be trying to draw people into this country to study and then start families, start businesses, and have lives here. This has actually been something that's been a real engine of American success over the last number of decades, but America's losing that, and it's making it worse by making it harder for people to come here, study math and science, and then build businesses and careers here, particularly because it's distinguishing two things that I think need to be independent, which is trade and security, or economic advancement and security. Like, unfortunately, right now, the United States is muddying those two things, and I think we need to keep them separate. But certainly, I think that our society, America, is stronger when we bring talented people in from other parts of the world, and we say to them that this is a phenomenal place to live, to start a family, to start a business. The last thing you want to do is have talented people think that the United States is not the right place for them. And as the son of immigrants, like, I know this in my gut too. It's like, if that was the case, then I would never have been born here, and I would certainly not be running for president of the United States today. That when we talk about being the opposite of Donald Trump wants to build a wall. I want to give immigrants a hug and let them know that if you come here and you work hard, your son or daughter can become president, and that's the plan in 2020. So thank you all so much.